Good afternoon, class. My name is Dominecha Crenshaw,
And I'm Keturah Wicks.
and today we will be presenting on our peer evaluation tool that we completed for Business 705. Throughout today's presentation, we will discuss the definition of a peer evaluation, benefits of a peer evaluation, Microsoft Form versus Google Forms, peer evaluation sections that we completed, organizing the sections, designing the peer evaluation, creating the rubric, completing the peer evaluation as an employee, creating evaluation topics, and a conclusion. So first, let's talk about what a peer evaluation actually is. According to the University of Wisconsin-La Crosse, a peer evaluation is an effective collaborative learning strategy that asks students to reflect on contributions made by colleagues in group work. What are some benefits of utilizing a peer evaluation? The first benefit is that it provides more detailed and nuanced insights into performance than supervisors alone. The second benefit is that it helps employers identify strengths, areas for growth, and professional development opportunities in constructive and fair ways. The third benefit is that it strengthens the workplace communication. And lastly, the fourth benefit of a peer evaluation tool is that it provides diverse perspectives that go beyond what a single manager observes. This creates a more well-rounded view of employee performance. So now let's compare a Microsoft form versus a Google form. This was our first conflict when creating our peer evaluation tool was determining which format to use. We have Microsoft Forms to the left and Google Forms to the right. Our first thought was that we wanted a digital platform. So both of these check off that thought. They both are digital platforms that we could utilize. The second thing that we wanted to create within the peer evaluation form was that we wanted it to work with a secure Outlook email. So most emails with work or school is through Outlook, which is what we have, making it much more secure than using a Gmail account with a personal email. Lastly, we wanted to implement a Likert scale. A Likert scale would allow the peer evaluator to rate their peers on the questions that were provided. With a Google form, we were not able to insert a Likert scale, whereas with a Microsoft form, we were able to implement a Likert scale. Now, let's move on to our peer evaluation sections. The first section we worked on was the policy. The next section was the peer evaluation tool itself. And lastly, we created a rubric as a guide for peer evaluators. Now, let's go a little bit deeper into organizing those sections and what they comprise of. First, with the policy. The top 3 points within our policy that we created was the purpose, the scope of the policy, and the objective. Next, we worked on the peer evaluation tool itself. As you can see, we turned peer into an acronym. The questions that we put in the peer evaluation tool will fall within these different categories. The categories that we have for the tool is professionalism, engagement, effectiveness, and results. Lastly, we created a rubric. This rubric is for the peer evaluators themselves to have a guide when evaluating their peers. The peer evaluation rubric consists of a rating scale, labels that allow the peer evaluator to label the different levels that their peer is at, and a description to help guide them through which label they should provide.
And so now I want to talk about how we design the peer evaluation tool. We knew that the peer evaluation process needed to be comprised of a clear policy, a structured Microsoft form, and also a rubric. Primarily, the purpose and the reasoning behind implementing a peer evaluation, it needed to be evident. We began by outlining the policy for the evaluation process. And from there, we added details that categorized into 9 different sections. The most important section of the policy we find was the purpose of the peer evaluation, the scope of the policy, and also the implementation framework. Next, we looked into creating a rubric. We knew that it was necessary for us to provide feedback to peers, but we needed to determine the criteria needed to be followed when feedback was needed. So we came up with our rating scale of 1 to 5, with 1 being the worst and 5 being the best. And then we established labels for that rating scale. We chose exceptional exemplary as our top category or our top label. And then we moved to above expectations or strong. Then we moved to meets expectations or confident. Then we moved to needs improvement or developing. And lastly, unsatisfactory or not demonstrated based on the question. When completing the peer evaluation, we knew that the peer evaluation itself was a Microsoft form, but we also believed that the link to access this form needed to be a universal link. We did not want to create exclusive links to our evaluators. We wanted everybody to be able to use the same link. From there, we added in anonymity. Through this, our evaluators they were anonymous. They didn't have to worry about the employee that was being evaluated knowing that they were the ones that evaluated them. And then lastly, our results. We wanted them to be confidential. We did not want any employee to feel like they were being excluded or put out based on their peer evaluation. Creating the evaluation topics. So, as mentioned before, we wanted to stay aligned with our peer acronym. We wanted to include professionalism, we wanted to include effectiveness, we wanted to include engagement, and we also wanted to include results. And so with this, we knew that first we would start with our evaluators, evaluating the employees on their professionalism. And then they would move to the effectiveness section, which is where the employee will be able to rate the peer on how effectively they communicated, applied skills, handled challenges, and so much more. And then we moved on to engagement. Engagement includes questions that gauge how we would rate that peer's ability to work with others and collaboration skills. And then lastly, we wanted our employees to be able to rate their peers on their results. Throughout the year or the project you work with the peer, how would you rate their overall performance, their quality of work, whether they meted or exceeded expectations, and their overall performance? To conclude, we genuinely believe that these combined outcomes do not just support individual growth, but they also strengthen the organization's ability to thrive. Thank you for listening. I am Keturah Wicks.
And I am Dominecha Crenshaw.
And this is our final project for Business 705, presenting our peer evaluation tool.